Quiet on the set. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm DearMYRTLE, your friend in genealogy, your not-so-retired friend in genealogy. Boy, have I been busy this week, and I'm sure you all have too. We love meeting together with you for Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything that's come across our genea-desks since last we met. And we meet every other Monday, pretty much without fail so far this year, which is an amazing accomplishment in and of itself. Let's see who's out there. Marcia's here from Kansas. Hi, Marcia. And hi, Gwen. Went to the arena for Mom's Day football game. Cool. Hi, Valerie from Minnesota. Good to see you. There's my friend, John. Well, actually, I'm friends with a lot of people out there, John. But it was so good to have seen you at Roots Tech. And Robin is here. Rainy Miami. This time of day, that's unusual. Usually, well, in Bradenton in Manatee County, where I used to live, it would rain in the afternoons when the heat from the land would come up against that Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, that body of water. and all rain would break loose. Hi, Barbara at Project Ken. I thank you so much. I'm going to talk about you a little bit later today. Becky is here today from Michigan. Hi, Karen. Good to see you. And hi, Betty Lou from the middle of Arkansas. And of course, Ellen's here. Linda Stint is here. So you're very close to where John lives. So it's all good. I'm not sure if I've said hello to everybody, but welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so good to see you all. So let me pull the panelists up. We also have a special guest who's going to help us with his family tree generator that can create a very dynamic family tree. You can base it on a GEDCOM file and embed it in your blog if you're one that's a blogger or any website that you want to put it up on. All right, so I'm going to stop screen sharing and we're going to pull the panelists up and see what they've been doing. Now, I gave them a different question this week. Normally ask them, what have they been doing, genealogically speaking? But this time, I asked them to share the name of a database and a link. And so, Hillary, let's go with you first. And what is this database? I'm going to pull it up and share the screen. Theoretically, possibly. Here we are. I'll share it. Go ahead. Yeah. You've written also a blog post with this too.
Yeah. I was looking for this particular ship because it was a ship that one of my great uncles travelled on when he went to Canada as one of the British home children. So I've written I've written a blog post about how I discovered he was a British home child. And this was on the back of the conference that I went to a couple of weeks ago. So
okay, it's amazing what you learn when you go to conferences, isn't it? That's very good. All right, let me share this link, and also we need to get the link to her blog post. If you could get that, Randy, I would appreciate it. Well, thank you for that. I'm not sure if I can share everybody's link because I may not have an account, but this happens to be a public space. Let's see. How about Ellen? What did you discover? I'm going to pull it up. It's from newspaper.com. And
actually, I sent you another link. Hopefully you can see the very last one. Yeah.
Okay.
I tried a better one, I think. Anyways, so I've been working on my family story about my great-grandparents or great-grandmother was in a train crash, and it was the very first train crash in Alberta. of a major, and it was a major event. And it was a family story that never was passed down. And I discovered it. And so this week I used AI tools to create a story. And then going down the path of Randy, I used Google Notebook LM and a podcast, and now it's a video on YouTube.
Wow. Wow, you're really doing a good job.
This story.
Yeah, you're really doing a good job of getting the story out because, and so you were just searching for her name, never knew about this train wreck.
I actually started at the archives, Alberta Archives, and I was just searching the shelves and found a returning soldier file. And I found out that my great-grandmother had asked to have her husband return from World War I.
Oh my gosh.
Because she had been injured quite severely, quite a bit, and she had 3 children to look after. So, but it was actually denied.
Oh, that's sad. That's particularly sad. Randy's going to share the link, or maybe I can. I think I can. So this is at newspapers.com, which is a property of Ancestry. And you can just subscribe to this if you aren't on Ancestry. But I have a different account. You'll see I'm logged in as DearMYRTLE. And you can get a different level account at Ancestry, and it will include most of newspapers.com. Sometimes
this is actually Publishers Extra because it's for the Edmonton Journal and you need Publishers Extra.
Oh, okay. So you need that higher level newspapers.com access. Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay. All right. Well, let's pull up Frank's next. I'll share the link in comments for the folks on the YouTube side. Thanks. We have also our private chat. That's where I'm finding these links. And let me pull this up. So this must be a.
Didn't work.
Okay, so look what happened. It's in German, of course, because Frank's our guy in Germany. And Google Translate is saying, would you like me to do something up here? And I'm going to ask it to change it to English. And the portal is temporarily unavailable. But what is this? What is this website?
This was the website itself is actually a search engine for everything that is archived in Poland.
Oh, okay.
Everything.
Okay, so Maria, my friend Maria, who does Polish research, that's a place she probably already knows about. But if she doesn't.
Probably.
Yeah.
The best thing about it is that if there is something digitalized by a local archive or even by the search engine itself, they linked and publish it. So you don't have to go to a different website.
For each location or something. Yeah.
Exactly. You can click on the magnifying glass and just enter, for example, Guben or Gubin.
Well, I cannot possibly spell that.
G-U-B-E-N.
Spell it again.
G-U-B-E-N.
B or D?
B.
Okay,
Brother.
like bumblebee.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not specifying time period or anything.
Nothing. And you see that they have everything to for that specifically village.
Yes.
And I was looking for the church records from 1942 or 1943 because they only have the church records and the baptismal records.
Okay.
But the problem is my guy is born in 1942, and back then it was not a custom to baptize a baby right in the same year, but maybe several years later.
You know, that's very interesting, Frank, because here we tend to think, okay, they want to get the baby baptized right away. I saw that in English records clear back to 1500, that there's a difference between what was in the family records that came down from Bisham and I can't remember the Shire and a couple of other places. So it was within a couple of months of the birth. So there's a difference between the family birth record and the being 3 months earlier than the actual christening record. Because public vital records weren't kept in England until what, 1832 was it, Hillary?
1837 they started the birth registrations.
Public vital records somewhere in the 30s there. Yeah. Okay. So I can't get to any photo or scan because their portal has problems right now.
Yeah, but you can scroll down and see, for example, give me a second.
Well, let's just pick what we need to go on. But there's things
down.
like a road bridge over and road maintenance. And here's a guy. And so you're still getting, even though we aren't getting...
You get everything if they have indexed it, but they also have the church records and the civil records there.
Okay. All right. So this is cool for those of you who have Polish research. Thanks for that good suggestion.
Also, please remember, due to the country changes, for example, Guben is now right in the, on the border, with one half in Germany and the other half in Poland.
That is problematic. Through time, things have changed as to who's who and who's, what ecclesiastical jurisdiction or what government jurisdiction it is at that time and place. So if we've been doing 20th century research in that area, rules are completely different 100 years earlier.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why we need to know the history. Okay, so we're going to pull up MyHeritage newspaper obituaries from Old News, and I think this is Randy's. I've sent the link out. Let me pull it up. What is it we're going to be looking at in a moment when old Myrt gets her act together here? Randy.
Nope. He's muted.
Okay. Oh dear,
I'm here.
Okay.
It may not work because I got the link out of my account. I was looking at matches by source for Old News obituaries.
Okay.
Okay, they have.
I'll work on it.
And they have a collection just for obituaries. I don't have an account with Old News anymore.
Yeah.
But the extract they take from it includes a birth date, a birthplace, a death date, a death place if they're in the obituaries. And so I did about 50 of those last night, just checking my database against the dates and places in Old News.
Oh, okay.
Probably changed 15 or 20, added information for 15 or 20 people in half an hour, basically.
That's awesome.
Since I've done all these descendants of my fourth grade grandparents, I've added a whole lot of people. I have no idea who they are, other than they were in a record somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And consequently, the obituary really helps, especially in the 20th century, and early 21st.
Yes. Okay, so one of the things we can do, and I am not logged in because I can't remember what the password is. I changed it. Anyway, MyHeritage, we have, let me zoom in a little bit more. Okay, so you can search all the records, and that's by name, as you see in the background. You can search the catalog, which I love to do that. Here's newspapers. Let's see what they've got. And then from here, if you had the publication title, I could look it up if I were logged in. And it does not tell me what newspapers are in there, are part of that collection. But
No.
you see, it takes you to that oldnews.com. So was it US and Canada old news or what?
I think it was that one.
Okay, let's go to their landing page.
But by doing searches by source, I can get a listing of all the people in my tree on my heritage that they've identified as a record match from this collection. So
Right.
I'm focusing on, who's in my tree, basically. And I have to do this a couple times a year. I do the same thing on Genealogy Bank and newspapers.com using the ancestry list of obituaries and things like that. So once in a while, it's a 30 to 60 minute task I can do fairly quickly and get some results from. Added to my database, and I'm happy.
This is wonderful. If you want to know about Randy, those of you who might be new, who are tuning in, he blogs very prolifically about his actual ancestors, but also you're crazy about anybody with the name Seaver, aren't you?
Oh yeah. and not only Seaver.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, others too.
So if all you did was concentrate on Seavers in the United States, you've got a blog post for each entry, each newspaper entry that would cover the next umpty-ump years. So umpty-ump is a technical term, of course.
Highly technical. Yeah.
Very technical. All right, let me pull up the private chat on my screen to see what else we come up with. I just love it. All right, now who haven't I? Oh, Hillary, I know you have to leave early. That's why I took you first. Oh, Dan, let me pull up yours. So we're dealing with our Ontario. And, we do have a plethora of Canadians here today on the panel. Perfectly wonderful. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and tell us about this website in particular.
So our Ontario is a really valuable resource. If you have any family or connection to Ontario, Canada's largest province and good neighbor to the Americans, our Ontario is really one of the best resources you can use. So it's a network of collections from libraries and historical societies across Ontario. And they're all of the libraries that have partnered with our Ontario are able to be searched through one interface, which is super helpful. So if you want to run a search, Myrt, it would be a good demonstration. So if you search Samuel Lount, Lount.
Lount, okay.
Yeah, and it's like the little play button. It's not a very great
it does look like
user interface design, but
yeah.
That'll give us a search for Samuel Lount. And on the side, you can see that we've got a sidebar that lists the contributors. And if you hit that little green plus icon, Myrt, that'll give you the full list. So this is a full list of all of the institutions, so whether it be a library or a historical society, where they're pulling these records from. And Samuel Lount is quite a notable figure. So he appears across all kinds of different locales. But in terms of searching for people in Ontario and also discovering what type of records are available. So this doesn't just cover newspapers; it covers family histories that are written and given to historical societies. It covers
Ooh.
any number of records which a local historical society would collect. You can also sort it by year. You can also sort it by what is the media, whether it be newspaper or court archives or family Bibles or any sort of things you may be in search of.
This is phenomenal. Frank says, thanks for that link. He still needs to find a hotel where 2 of his relatives worked. We want to know, do you have city directories that go back? We have them in the US.
Definitely.
Yeah,
What here in Ontario, what they're known as is a Vernon's directory. So if you were to replace in the keywords Samuel Lount with Vernon's, VERNONS.
Vernon.
Vernon or Vernon's apostrophe. I think either or would probably
All right, we'll see what
get
happens.
us close.
Now, a go button is better than that green arrow that looked like I was going to play a video on the opening screen. I was thinking about it. Maybe I need to be back at the home screen.
Yeah. So, but anyways, the Vernon directory is what are here in Ontario. Many cities had Vernon directories, which was essentially a city directory sponsored.
Yeah, and see, now that's something that I wouldn't know. Here we called them, typically the publisher was Polk, Polk, and so they were called Polk directories, but that isn't all of the city directories that have survived. And these are even going back into about 1804.
Wow.
A city directory, which has nothing to do with telephones. So interesting. All right. So while you guys have brought all these things up, let me bring up the Digital Public Library of America. And what they've done is this is where libraries and archives and museums can scan things and put them up here at this consolidated website, which is like what Frank showed us for Germany and what you've shown us for Ontario. I mean, because there's more power when have joined as a collective because they're a big resource available. Let me pull it. It's just a real simple URL. Let's see. Here's the link for the Digital Public Library. Wow. Interesting. Access banned books. Information on how to use it. I love it when websites give you user guides or pathways to follow in kind of a PDF brochure or something like that. We used to, when we go to the Family History Library, now Family Search Library in Salt Lake City, you'd go to the reference desk and they would have a whole series of half page of an 8.5 by 11 printout, front and back, and it would be directions on the 1840 census, another one for 1850 census, etc., with the high points to get you oriented. And now that we have technology to advise us, let's move this off, and to be our friend, these are available online. So take advantage of this kind of training that a website will give you in a user guide so that you can best take advantage of it. I know that I could do more research if at that website that was in German. But did you notice how just being able to use the Google Translate, the page was pretty much easy for me to read. Some of the titles look a little odd, but at least I can navigate and then I can collaborate. It's all good. All right. Enough of all this faldera. what I'm going to do is invite my guest up today. Hillary, can you move everyone to the wings, boy? And I will pull Tony Proctor, my guest, up. So Tony is our guy in Ireland, and we used to have the hardest time communicating because he's a busy guy and he travels. And so good to see you again.
Oh, thanks, Myrt.
I also went to Parallax View, your website, and Randy will share these links. They're on the Google Sheet. And read about your book that was published in 2022. Very interesting. It's like, is it like theoretical physics or math?
It's a borderline.
Huh?
So this is the website you're talking about, is it?
Yeah, let me share your screen now that you've got it there. Okay, let me remove mine and share yours. Yes. Tell me about that book, first of all, because I want people to know how experienced you are and that you're very techie, but you also love family history and have, like our Dan on the panel, have come up with an interesting solution for us.
Well, about 2022, I went back to my roots because I studied physics and I had a lot of ideas that had amassed over time. So I decided to produce a book. Unfortunately, my father didn't sort of make it to see the book. He argued black and blue on everything, so I missed that. So it's a substantial book, about 320 pages.
That's a big book, you're right.
The crux of it is deconstruction of time, so a better understanding, because it's very poorly understood in physics as well as philosophy. So this subject falls in it's best to call it the philosophy of physics. So it's a bit of metaphysics and a bit of physics and a bit of philosophy.
Yeah.
But the sequel is now in copy edit, and that's going to be 350 pages.
Oh my gosh. Well, the thing is, Mr. Myrt and I are always joking about some unusual thing we just did that disrupted the space-time or time-space continuum. Which way does it go? Space-time or time-space? Space-time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just wish we could use the time travel thing and go back so I could ask my grandmother Myrtle,
that would
what's
be wonderful.
up?
Yeah.
or even farther back to another generation to find out if the Dolly Yaki parents we've finally identified are the actual, well, I guess I could actually meet her actual parents, but we digress. We're here to talk about something that's practical for regular family history people who may have a blog.
The one thing that everyone might find amusing before we just leave this the book page is that the sequel has got 23 pages of reference note citations, and guess what format they're in?
Elizabeth Shown Mills format. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very unusual choice, which I justify in the preface. 23 pages of them.
Well, I know you've had discussions back and forth, and with Elizabeth over things, and we've had discussions about citations and picky little things to specify exactly what are you looking at.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the original or a facsimile thereof, or was it not the marriage record? It was a marriage license, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's it's such a powerful scheme, and it's got more clarity than the more technical citation schemes, which can be a little bit cryptic for the general.
They are.
Yeah.
That was Elizabeth's point, and we see that when she talks about why Evidence Explained came into be, her several books on citations. And I have the book, the most recent version, with my little tab. That's something I'm working on. This is 4th edition. Can somebody of my panelists go to Amazon.com and find this? Elizabeth Shown Mills, Evidence Explained. Although and it's the 4th. Well, it's the white book, because prior to this, the big books were black.
I've got, sorry.
What she does say is that, and remember, she and her husband were historians at the university level before she really started zeroing in on genealogy, which is hard to, you're talking about a history of an area, it's the people that are there. But she said, if you look at American Library or CMA, Chicago Manual of Style, and some of these other schemes for citing something in your writing, the source that you looked at, that they didn't put it into the right context, and they would require discursive notes to get to the nitty gritty, whereas what she works through is working it into a citation, especially layered citations where you're looking at it on a website. But yeah, it's a long story.
I've got an amusing story that partly justifies why I wanted this power, and also emphasizes why people should always follow through to the original source. Because I'm a great one for chasing down the source of a quotation, because so many of them are complete rubbish if you see them on the internet.
Oh,
Never take someone else's citation as your own. But there's what's the word? Aphorism. It's a statement about time. Time is what stops everything happening all at once. Okay, it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and it's been attributed by popular writer Brian Greene to the famous physicist John Wheeler. And I thought, he hasn't given a source. I don't believe that. So it took me a while to chase it down. And John Wheeler himself said, no, he didn't come up with it.
He never did.
He was in a cafe in Austin, Texas, and he saw it on the wall of the men's room.
What's his source of that? Yeah.
So I had to put this in the book. And then I chased it a little bit further and found that way back at the turn of the 20th century, there's a short science fiction story with almost the same statement, quotation.
And that where I can relate to is TOO also, is when I'm looking, like right now I'm reading Amy Tanner, I don't know how to say her last name, her book called Documentary and Genealogical History of Slavery in Zion. These are the black slaves that came to Utah before it was a state with the Mormon pioneers. And yeah, she's got a million, not really, a million citations, but because she cited it, doesn't mean I can use that citation. No. I can only say she cited that.
Citing so-and-so, that's right.
Yes. Because unless I do what you're doing, and that is follow it down to the original person. And that's a sticky wicket that many genealogists make the mistake of not doing, because they assume it's in a nice printed book and she has a great reputation as a historian and as a genealogist. And we're taking, and she's human. I'm sure that it's going to be fine, but you still need to go to the actual source. All right, let's back up and talk about Family Tree Generator. I'll start sharing your screen again.
Okay.
And
I think what you're seeing is the summary page. Is that right?
Yeah, it went up there. Good. Yeah, we're seeing the description page.
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit more about the page, but because this is an unusual product, I just want to frame it with some history first. Because a few years ago, I wanted to share my family history, not just the family tree, the family history with my extended family and friends. But I knew that they didn't want to pay a subscription or buy license fee or royalties or create accounts to log into something or install software. They just wanted a link on the internet. But more than that as well, they didn't want a database maintenance product. They didn't want to see buttons to add and remove people or edit text or change dates. They just wanted the information, but not just a plain picture. They did want options in there, but it'd be options for an interested party or someone with a connection, not a genealogist. So I'm making this distinction between a genealogist who actually researches and maintains the data, and then the viewer who actually wants to see a quite different format. So
this is the problem of how to share it, because a genealogy management program where we place our conclusions in pedigree and family group sheet kind of format, and yeah, we can add colors and photos and images, but it's got all these other buttons that are a little bit scary looking. Yeah. And they know they don't want to ruin our database. And like you say, they don't want to buy Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker or whatever it is. So this was your solution.
I thought, okay, I can develop a product for that. You mentioned blogs earlier on. That was actually a secondary goal. Yeah. I just wanted something to produce a piece of web technology that I could put in a web page or put in a blog. And that led me to develop this tool. So this is just a tool. And because it's a tool, it's not that important. I won't really show you the tool. What I want to do is to show you a variety of the outputs it can generate.
Yes.
I thought that would be more interesting than guiding you through, okay, moving the mouse up to this option and so on.
Well, but I got to tell folks out there, Randy's going to share the link to your YouTube channel. I spent, yeah, I know there's some cute old photos and videos, but they were very informative, and you speak so calmly. So
I drone on and on. If anybody's seen any of my instructional videos, you probably fall asleep halfway through.
No, because Mr. Myrt did come in and wonder what I was doing, because normally we're watching reruns of Ben Casey or Hamilton Burr and some of the old murder mysteries. And I said, and he's like, wait, he knew your voice. And I said I explained you were coming, but I watched the Getting It Started.
Yeah.
I watched Importing a GEDCOM, all the technical things, and some of them were pretty technical, but I could pause. And if I were actually installing or doing that at that point in time, I could pause, rewind, and follow your directions, because you're very methodical and logical. And so that's why we're just sharing there is technical help. But show us your result.
I don't know if you find the same, but when you're talking to yourself and trying to create a video, your voice tends to be very monotone. It's not like there's any emphasis. I mean, I'm not suggesting I should do a song and dance.
No, what was the content? That's why Cousin Russ and I did so well, because we could play off of each other. All right, but show us what it's capable of.
Okay, well, there was two design choices I made. One is to use this thing called SVG. That's a standard web technology. If you've heard of it, you might be misled into thinking it's an image format, but it's not. It's very similar to HTML, which means it's a document format. You can put script in there. You can put CSS. That's the code for doing styles and behavioral options. And that's good because you can then mix it with HTML to create a really rich mixture. And the other option is to add apps. I've called them apps in the documentation. So if you want your tree to do something, you can click on a button or click on an image, click on the box itself, and it will actually go off and do something useful, such as bring up biographical notes or visit an image gallery, produce a timeline report. So this summary page, it is a summary page. It's got a little description, a working example, a summary of all the blog posts that I've done over the years, a link to the download site, some feature highlights for the most recent versions, instructional videos that will send you to sleep at night.
No. Well, when you do it, it was on the bedroom television on YouTube. And I did sleep quite well last night.
Oh, thanks. And there's also a link to an article I did for a UK magazine. They did a review of the product some years ago. So if I just look at this example, I can move the tree around on there. That's not spectacular. But if I zoom in, you can see that.
Yeah, let me zoom in and make it full screen. Yes.
Okay, you can see that it's not really going fuzzy at all.
No, it doesn't. Usually, when we zoom in, it does get fuzzy. I mean, not on your product. I'm just saying that's the way the world is.
And if I click on any of these boxes, then it brings up biographical notes.
Yeah.
These now pop up. You can see that the cursor changes when I hover over the header, so I can move them out.
So you know you can move it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can resize them as well. So I can bring up multiple ones, and it stacks them in the order that you would expect. Clicking on the boxes or clicking on the circles, which usually brings up marital history. And these all have their own close box, but there's no limit to the number that you can bring up.
So they could go exploring.
Absolutely.
And not ruin your database.
Yep.
And you can imagine that marriage item could have the complete transcript of the notice from the newspaper, etc.
Yeah, this is rich text, so you could put scans and images, links to other things in there. It's one of the examples I'll show you, because what I did is create a test suite. So to show the variety of the functionality, I can go through little bits of my test suite. So let me just clear all these. There's a quick way of clearing them. Okay. There's a little button in the corner which actually shows the ancestor links, but because this is such a small snippet of a tree, it's not really useful to display here. So I'll save that.
But there is a little descendant icon.
Yeah.
A descendancy icon in that corner. Yes.
Yeah. Oops, sorry, I'm trying to select the page. Okay, so if I go to the first example, which is one of the examples in the kit, actually.
Yes.
It's got the same group of people from my father's family tree. And this one demonstrates a timeline report. So I can select, sorry, that's the browser getting in the way. If I just select them all, I can show a timeline report. So it takes all the events and orders them, including all the approximate ones and ranges. It tries to implement a consistent sorting order. And if I click on any of the event names, it takes me back to the information panel.
You see why I'm having him here? This is for you, Valerie, because you take clients and you can talk to them about their family history without having to use Lucid Chart or something like that, where you create all these little boxes yourself. If you have it in a GEDCOM file, you can upload and you can pivot on this. It's sort of like, it's incredibly powerful.
It's a mature product, so there's a lot of functionality in there.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when I switched to trying to become an author, I sort of neglected it for a couple of years, the product. I knew that there was a problem with touchscreen devices. It was much more orientated to mouse-based devices. And then an experienced developer over in the UK, a guy named Chris Hatton, I thought I'd give him a shout out.
We know Chris Hatton.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. He made a suggestion. He says, I'm using your product. I think it's great. And I've tracked down the problem with the touchscreens. The touches are not being registered as clicks. And it turned out to be a conflict with another bit of technology I was using. So he suggested a small change, and it now works. We
get by with help from our friends, don't we?
Exactly, yeah. So no, he's just the sort of developer it was made for, because he's not frightened of adding more technology into it. And the apps I was talking about, there's about a dozen packaged ones that you can just pick from a menu. But there's an app framework that's documented, so you could write your own apps as well, add them in. That, if you're a coder, that is.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you can use this very, if you're a coder, you can, I'm not a coder anymore. What I did in coding was HTML version -10, I'm sure. And then there was a proprietary coding I did for America Online, where I did things, created areas for the genealogy form. So I'm not a coder, but I can use this. But a coder could even do more. But what you've added on, I think you're up to, what version are you up to now?
Oh, 6.4, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is built in now is more than enough for me to be able to work with the several clients they're freebie clients. I volunteer at the library here and help some island people with their research. We can actually take what we're doing and make this available. Talk about where you put this so that it is available.
Well, I can show you one example, because I haven't been doing much family history at the moment with the writing, but I did do a little bit on my wife's family tree.
Okay.
And I did, it's on there somewhere. Oh, yeah, Campbell. So this is a small website. It's got lots of information and photos. That's a great-great-grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
He was a guide on the island of Jersey in the Channel Islands. But one of the pages there is a family tree generated by this tool. And you can see this one's got a background on it as well, just to make it a little bit nicer.
You got fancy here.
So that's, well, I'll show you some more examples because there's a lot of
so this is on a blog.
This is not even a blog. This is just a private website.
Oh, your parallaxview.com. Okay. It's in a subdirectory. So you upload this to a website, and are there still any free websites?
Yeah, I use NeoCities a lot.
It's still free?
Yeah. In fact, there's one of the instructional videos I did.
Yes, I saw it.
10 minutes end to end. I created the family tree, pushed the button to generate the web technology, created a website, put the technology into the website, and bingo, you've got a clickable family tree.
All right.
Okay, I've done it a few times to get it down to 10 minutes, but I was quite pleased with that.
All right, let me just for a second share the screen for branding, brand recognition. That's NeoCities. Create your own free website. I don't know what you've used it for at least 4 years that I know of. And what's their revenue stream?
I actually pay them a small amount of money because I put custom URLs on my websites. So Parallax View is a custom URL.
Oh, I see. So here's...
And parallaxviewpoint.com is another one. So I've got a few on there. But for free, it just gives you...
so it'll be a .neocities.org.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, I sent the link, given him the branding. Let me get back to you.
There is a problem trying to get some of this stuff, not just SVG, but anything that's been generated by another program to get it into a website. And you have to jump through hoops with some of the web hosts because they expect you to use their tools and only use the HTML that comes out the back of their tools, which are not always up to scratch.
Like I've noticed that with WordPress.
Yeah.
I've also noticed that with Blogger.
WordPress drives me up the wall. I hope nobody from WordPress is listening.
I know. We love really WordPress. And their freebie version gets people sharing their family history.
Yeah. Blogger is actually at the blogger.com. They're actually quite amenable to putting script in there and CSS. and I've put some fancy things into some of my blog posts in the past. But most of the web hosts, it's hard to just import a big chunk of HTML generated by something else.
All right, let me pull the panelists up because there's some comments.
Yeah.
I know that we would like to discuss. Frank, you were talking about accessibility hardware.
Yeah.
And the use of this program.
Yeah, especially, for example, screen readers and so on. For example, the text output of the timeline, that would make it way more easier in that style for such accessibility hardware to read and understand the information than using, for example, Roots Magic or something, because it is already text and very simple text nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or that's a very good point, accessibility, especially and screen readers, folks, you can even get one. You qualify for them here in the United States, and the Library of Congress can help you with that, and also your local senior citizens advocate group, whatever the name of that group might be, can help people who have severe visual challenges. And SVG, it's just incredible what you've come up with here. It really is. Thank you. Anything else before we switch gears and talk about something else? And Sir Michael Daniels is in the building.
I've just switched over to another tree, a more complicated one. This is my grandfather's ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
But it's quite good at showing things. The first one is that I've got 3D boxes there.
Oh, that's nice.
And if I zoom in, even the little circles have got a flare on there to make them look like globes rather than circles.
Yep.
But if I find my grandfather, this is a little app, by the way. It's just to find people in a complicated tree. So
yeah. Let me zoom in.
I find my grandmother, Annie E.
Yep.
Jessen. And when I click on it, it's highlighted it down there. And if it was out of view before, she'll be scrolled in automatically.
Mm-hmm. I see that, the red box.
Yeah. Now,
okay.
If this is that little button again that I didn't use in the previous example, but if I click on that, it actually highlights the ancestral path all the way up to the top. And if that's not plain,
that blue line, yeah.
If that's not plain enough, you can also add in coloring of the boxes as well for the parent and the two parents, maternal and paternal.
But it says, is this the default setting?
No, you've got to actually select it when you're creating the tree. It's just one of the apps you can pick from a menu.
Okay.
Okay. There's a slightly more interesting thing down there, if I can.
Okay. We're getting some feedback from the community on this. And Michael Daniels is our game night guy and our tinkering with tech guy, that when old Myrt has a problem with Zoom or whatever, there's a whole team of us that talk about techie stuff. And Michael, this is using SVG-Family Tree Generator. And my guest is Tony Proctor. And let's see what Barbara has to say. I tend to think we're moving into a new world where the edges of websites are blending into blog posts and vice versa. Yeah, in my opinion. Embedding this genealogy without the program that created it, your program, strips away all the scary stuff that us really super techie genealogists like to work with, like Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker or Legacy or any of the others, mainstream genealogy, reunions for Mac, etc. Okay. Let's see. So Ellen, you want to read your own comment and get it in the recording, and then let's see if.
Yeah, I'm just very interested to see how this works for not only my clients, but my own DNA research. I really like the idea of looking at the path because I put all my DNA matches, and then it might be interesting to see the paths a little bit easier.
Is there anything else you wanted to show us the results or the capability? We're not showing how to set it up. That you can get from his YouTube channel.
I'm only about halfway through all the features. But
Oh, I know. So just pick like a few of them.
this little pink box there is my grandmother. And if I tried to put her tree into the same as my grandfather's, you would just end up with a cat's cradle. So these two little arrows in the corner actually go off to further trees. So you can link trees together. So if I click on that, it's got a couple of options. I'm going to pick tree Jessen, which is her ancestors. So what that's done is open in a new tab, her family tree, and she's highlighted there at the bottom.
Okay, right away. Yeah.
And you can have as many of those open as you like. If I try to go back to the original one, all it does is it knows that the tab's open, so it's just switched back to the first tab. So it won't open them multiple times, if you know what I mean.
Right. So can you, just for Michael's benefit, click on your Annie and show what her profile looks like? Because I'm sure you have a photo there.
I don't actually have in this. This is part of my test suite. So
okay. Have you got one where we can show that it can have a profile picture and the notes for events, and for persons' profiles can also have photos? Yes, show them that.
Yeah.
But we could put.
There are you can put pictures in there as well. So I've got examples where which one's that? That's tree Jessen. So if I close that.
Yeah, there we go.
So Mary Ashby, I think she's got, if I resize this, she's got an image actually in the notes. And
that image could be the newspaper clipping that that Ellen talked about the train wreck. It could be that.
And there's a couple of links there as well to blog posts that I've written in the past.
Excellent. We need to incorporate more of those in our genealogy programs. Wow.
There's a little bit more in this one I can demonstrate, because there's a different type of app attached to this one. Okay. And it's called Compendia. So if you've got a lot of online material, typically blog posts, you can bring all the references together and then present your family member with a choice. So if I select one of those, that's going to, that's the image. I didn't mean to take the image.
You've already sold Valerie Lair on it. She's the one I was referring to. So rearranging her schedule list to put this first to show a new client that she got from last week.
So this is one of my lengthy blog posts.
Oh my gosh, yes. With all your citations.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot all about that. Yeah, okay.
Good on you, we're checking them. And we have a little form, we send the top copy off to Elizabeth personally.
And there's a shortcut in there where I can ask it to show me which ones have got compendium information, just in case you haven't got information for all of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's true. We tend to have a lot on one or two of these ancestors and then just the names of their siblings or something.
Now, this very simple test case was showing a feature where I can put tabbed information into the events.
That's an option.
Yeah. So if you want to divide up your biographical notes because there's just so much of it, then you can put little tabs in there.
Oh, like military and occupation and the trip to Spain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I get it. This is more dynamic than everybody knows I use Roots Magic, and Roots Magic is a very powerful program. I like the shading behind those boxes.
Yeah, this is drop shadow rather than 3D, and it's also showing a fanned effect rather than the horizontal and vertical lines.
Right.
And there's sorry, if I click on one of these now, rather than bring up an information panel, it actually goes to an external source. And that might be useful if all your information, say, is in family search. And instead of bringing up an information panel, as we saw in the other examples, you just want to link to the family search page.
Yes.
I mean, this is just going to the blog because I just needed a link, but
that could be the family search profile for that person.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, Frank, I get your joke. Bet Randy's already planning to deep dive into this. I love it.
This is one of my favorite bits because I wanted a searchable image gallery on the internet. If anybody's thinking, I don't want all my images and my family tree information on the public internet, a couple of the users I had before had the same problem. And when I pointed out that you could take all the web output and just dump it in an email, send it to your family member, they can put it onto their machine, and then they can click as though they've got a private website.
Oh.
So all of this works exactly the same. It's just then that you're using it on your computer rather than some central version.
That's incredible. I didn't know about that. Wow.
So on this one, there's a little icon in the bottom corner there, which is...
Okay. On the lower left?
Yeah, it's like an image.
Yeah, it looks like a mountain or double mountain peaks.
I can bring up this little search dialog, and it gives you a number of options. You can search for any selected person because you can select them by just clicking on the box on the tree, or all selected persons, or just ignore them and then do a search based on the place or event. And I've got a few programmed in there. They should be sorted. That's a problem I've got to fix. Or what I call an album is a collection of galleries strapped together, so you can divide your images up into separate galleries. So I've got my Proctor ancestors album. Sorry, it's the other way around. Mm-hmm. So if I find everything to do with Nottingham. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. That's because it's looking for specific people.
Yeah. Oh, right. Beautiful.
And clicking on one of these can bring up information that you've put in for that photograph as well.
Okay.
And if you've put in enough information, it links back to the tree. That's my mother way back, hand-colored photograph.
That's what they did in that time period. And that was not cheap to have it done.
Oh, my father did that one.
Oh, your father did it. Okay, we'll keep it in the family. That makes sense.
So if I go to Proctor Family, all places. Mm-hmm. Now then, that's me from 1991. Okay.
Aha.
There's a picture of my grandmother, the Annie Jessen that was in the previous tree. And
I like the labels that pop up when you mouse roll over the person.
Oh, and this one is actually me on my first motorbike.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. I think what we should do, because our time is running short, can we have you back another time to show some more of your favorite options?
I think I'm basically done. There's one there that shows the buttons, but a really horrible example, variation of this one.
We're our own worst critics.
I put picture frames around them, which is just a broken brick wall in this example. Uh-huh. So it looks awful, but it was just for testing purposes.
Kind of cute.
Yeah. I think that's it. There's elliptical boxes. You were
experimenting with the design.
Yeah, it's all built in there, so you can do circular or oval, vertical, oval, horizontal. Mm-hmm. So I think that's basically it. If you're running out of time.
Okay. Well, there's always so much to talk about because we only meet every other week now, and so folks, you now understand why I invited Tony to visit with us today. Any more feedback? Randy, had you heard about this before from Tony?
I've heard about it, but I haven't used it.
Okay.
know?
So they need to have the link to your.
I put all the links in.
Okay, thank you. So
Sure.
they need to get in touch with you to figure out more, and he shared the link somewhere in comments. So let me find the link. What is it?
There's my email address on there as an image, rather just to stop the bots picking it up.
Yeah, it's the parallaxviewpoint.com/SVG-FTG for Family Tree Generator. I'm sending it out again. And is there a fee for this?
Oh no, it was designed for my use, but I wanted to share it to other genealogists. And there used to be a support group, but then that was dropped when I started writing the books.
Yes. Well, we're glad to have you back in the genealogy vertical. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. So what have we got next? Randy, let's talk about AI, you and I. And Tony, you're welcome to stay with us. I know you sometimes stay the whole time on the YouTube side, but
sure.
You're welcome. Whatever works. Okay, so which do you want me to go to first?
I thought you were going to do the ancestry transcription thing.
Yes, I would love to do that. So let me pull it up. And so explain about the announcement from Ancestry. I about flipped when I saw it. I couldn't believe it.
Well, their latest AI feature is I think the impetus was for family letters and things like that, handwritten letters or documents that people may have.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can get a transcription of that by uploading the document into a gallery of one of your people in your tree.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's my grandmother and I have a letter from her, I can upload the letter, the image of the letter to her gallery on the Ancestry member tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then press the transcribe button and it will transcribe it. And for those types of things that have decent handwriting and relatively short, it seems to work wonderfully. Now, I tried it out and I didn't have letters at hand, and consequently I thought, well, maybe, how about a deed? Will it transcribe a deed or a from colonial times? Will it transcribe a will?
Mm-hmm.
I have hundreds of those. So I chose to test it on a deed, and it didn't work. I got the message that said it's either a problem with the network or whatever. And I figured out finally that it was really the bad handwriting in the deed, I think. And so I tried it again with a will, very clear out of full text search, and that was beautiful. that worked well, except it cut off the last bit. So there must be some limit on how many words it will translate or how many lines or whatever. And then I used a vital records page to transcribe that, and from 1800 or something like that. And it transcribed that well, except my one of interest was the very last one on the page.
Oh, naturally, yeah.
Actually 2 pages, and it cut off the last 2 lines.
Lines, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it works fine. Obviously, with best handwriting, it works great. With that handwriting, some interlinings and things like that, it didn't work that well. This is the vital records page, double page image. and that worked great, except the last two items didn't come through on the transcription. So you can copy and paste the transcription to a
Select all
document.
this.
Yeah.
I have a question. Have you taken a document? We're accustomed to doing full text search now on documents that are part of the collection that's been turned on at familysearch.org. Have you tried comparing and contrasting if you downloaded it from Family Search and uploaded it here to do a comparison?
I haven't, and what I was hoping to do was take the deed that I had already had full text search transcribe,
Mm-hmm.
and then corrected it on my blog post,
Mm-hmm.
to the ancestry transcription. But since the ancestry transcription of the deed didn't work, I can't do that yet. So I may do the will next.
Yeah, there are a lot of wills that are part of that collection that you've told us about.
And I was surprised that it would take a 2-page image
Really?
and deal with it right. That's what the Vital Records one was.
Well,
was 2 pages, and
but it was one scan, right?
Yeah.
A 2-page one scan.
Yeah.
So that was good because they told us they could only do 1 page to begin with.
Yeah.
Interesting. Betty Lou has a good point about how our brains work. She says, I know it sounds good, but she prefers to do her own transcriptions. It makes her read the letter several times. How do you feel about that? I mean, I'm kind of that way, but I need a little help from the AI.
Betty Lou is great and right. However, when it is this, 4-page document, the full text search helps. When I do my transcriptions on my daily blog post, my weekly blog post, Amanuensis Monday, I take the image and compare it to the transcription, and I edit the transcription that I publish. I haven't bothered to identify in the transcriptions what was wrong in the full text search. I could do that, but that's more work. But the beauty of it, that 4-page record might take me 2 hours to transcribe by itself. Okay, but with full text search, I can do it in 1 hour, or I can do it in 40 minutes, depending. So it at least halves the time.
Right there.
And I get, because full text search makes some errors, just because of bad handwriting. Remember, AI it's trying to guess the next word. It tries to read the letters, then guess the next word, and to help itself. And so it easily gets off track. It's amazing what it can do. It doesn't do things like headers at the top and signatures at the bottom, and things enclosed in parentheses or in brackets that deeds especially have.
Yeah, I have some problems with documents where they do the little up arrow or the caret, and they insert a word up above that was missing, and it's between the 2 lines of text, and it's not AI generally isn't yet smart enough to figure that part out yet. Let me pull Dan up because he has just a comment about how he feels, and we've got to spend a lot of time with you skateboarding maniac, you. Talk to me about your take on the use of AI.
Yeah, I'm a big user of AI and a big fan of AI and machine learning. Last week, I guess it was, I'm lucky enough to live in what's known as Canada's Silicon Valley. Waterloo, Ontario is the home of it's the home of RIM. It's the birthplace of the tech startup scene here in Canada. And thankfully that community still thrives, and I'm able to meet with a lot of different people building interesting stuff in AI. Last week at a presentation, I was speaking with somebody, And he brought up something that I thought was really interesting in reframing the way that I look at solving problems with AI. And he was contracted by a mining company to figure out, what the uses of AI could be in mining and how it could make them mine better. And
Okay.
what he told them was, you don't need to use AI to help you mine better. If you use AI to help with your human resources, that's going to save you.
Yeah.
That's going to save you the money, and you can continue to use, your best practices already for mining. So it's really identifying in which way AI is valuable. And to me, in genealogy, I think the biggest use of AI is making more information available. So things like family search, full text search, or the different types of AI indexing, the more that we can use AI to build a larger database of stuff that can be interpreted by us as genealogists and as humans. That to me is the promise of AI, to get it to give us as a professional genealogist better, more accurate information that we can digest.
And AI is gaining such expertise with handwriting already that alone is breakthrough. Because like Randy says, when we have to decipher that handwriting ourselves, it's like nutty. I mean, it takes twice as long, as he says. And I pulled you up because you said it's probably one of the most powerful uses of technology to transcribe and index things, particularly indexing when family searches protocol for indexing and ancestries and others was to take, if it's a birth record, the person's birth and their location and their date, not the doctor, not the parents, whatever else is on that document. And same thing with obituaries. That was one of the first places, and they were starting to change how they did indexing manually, like through family search indexing, to include actually mostly living people, which is a little scary, but in an obituary, it lists who the survivors are and who his deceased parents are and stuff like that. It's all kind of interesting. Let me pull the panelists up. Frank, you made a comment. Let's get it in the recording. This is right. Errors can happen, right?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. I mean, they're only human.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean,
somebody's fingers to it,
Yep.
Yep.
Ellen, do you want me to pull you up now? You were away for a bit. Okay, so let's get your comment in here too for the recording.
No, I think this. I always have a struggle with reading cursive. Not that I can't read it, but most of the time it's just not very well done. So this gives me a head start when I use AI.
Mm-hmm. And Valerie, our de facto member on the YouTube side, she's actually basically a panelist. But we still need to double check to make sure that the AI transcription is correct, make note of the errors, and publish the correct version. Verify. Enough garbage is out there not to have even more. I hear you. I think that Betty Lou, let me pull this in. I do like the idea of using AI for data mining, like I was just describing. More people, more places being mentioned, but AI still has problems reading that handwriting. Years ago at Roots Tech, there was a team of 2 German fellows who were part of the innovation exhibit. They had Innovators Alley, and this was used in Germany with the Postal Service years ago to get mail going faster. You guys are way ahead of the game there, Frank.
Yep.
Over there in Germany. And yes, you can teach a machine, a large language model, to read old script and with the double S and what that means, you know, and that the different. I learned on the Palmer method of writing in script, but my grandmother didn't. She could also do. My grandmother could do shorthand. That's somewhat easy for machine language to interpret if what we do is let the results be corrected. We have to have that conversation back and forth with AI to get that knowledge out there for the peculiarities of an individual stenographer. Yeah, lots of cool things. All right, I got a couple of things on the, we're going to go over about 7 minutes, no longer, okay? Let me just mention a couple of things. I'm going to have everyone else go to the wings. Number one, those of you who paid for a Family Tree Maker 2024 months and months, maybe 2 years ago, I can't remember when we paid for it. It has come out, and your email address with Matt Kiev will receive, as I did, an email. If you go to Matt Kiev today, they aren't offering 2024 yet at their website. It's through the email that you may click. Now, I did only catch a couple of screenshots, so let me share my screen. Am I sharing my screen? Yes. Okay. When you click through the email, it takes you to the Upgrade Center, and paid is already noted that I'd already paid for it. Then you go through a number of screens. You click here because that's what you want, what you've prepaid, and they are trying to sell you the book creator, different books from other people, including the ebook version of Evidence Explained. And I mean, there were a lot of pages. In fact, I think I gave up. I did order the book creator that goes with this version because that's what I would like to generate is a book. But I just wanted you to be aware of why you're hearing rumors that Family Tree Maker 2024 is now available, but you go to Matt Kiev. I went there at about 1 o'clock this morning. You still couldn't see it as something you could buy from the website, just the 2019 version. And that's because they're giving those of us that pre-ordered it an early shot at it. Okay, a couple of other things, and I think I'm just going to have to talk about them. There is something coming up next week on Sunday. Let me pull over Genealogy. Barbara, who is in the audience today, Barbara at Project Ken, will be meeting with the Genealogy in a premium members only meeting of Genealogy. It's $20 a year, no big deal, but it helps pay our guest speakers. And we do pay our guest speakers. And this is by request. A number of genealogy bloggers want to get out of the problems we're finding on a certain major social media site that has a blue and white icon, not blue sky, that routinely just removes our posts for some silly reason, and only a few of our actual followers can see a post. And remember that old Myrt spent a lot of time working with this lady. She knows her stuff. And part of the things that she does, it's volunteer work that she does, helping people who love to get the story of their ancestors out of their computers and onto the internet to share the story. And that's what she's going to be talking with this select group of premium members. Now, Substack does have its own genea-bloggers area. We're just setting it up. It's called genea-bloggers community. And I think I've only put a few posts up there. This is where we will begin to post things about our news. So when it says subscribe here, it's free. But as far as joining genea-bloggers, there's two categories. The free version where you can register your blog, and it will show up in our database if people know to go there. And then there's the premium version where we will spotlight your blogiversary. And I'm now the president because the previous president needed to pull out. So we're revitalizing the blogiversaries. There are also some other perks, but that if you'd share that link, this the join us button, that would help. Yeah, we're learning more and more how to use Substack, and Barbara will help us. Thank you. She's blushing, but we love her. Okay, the other things to tell you, let me remove that. We're going to, Catherine Borges did a very interesting blog post about using genealogy map overlays using genealogy and AI to accomplish it. He will share that link with you. Gail Seaver up there in Canada, since we seem to have a lot of Canadians around, I'll share that link to save you some time. We'll try to do every other one. She did a blog post about key collections that are good until tomorrow. And I see that I'm going to have to put a little space between that so the URL will work for you. Yeah, 13th of May. Okay, now that should work. Okay, what's next? Paula Stewart Warren did a very interesting post about a maternity hospital in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it made me think of our good friend, boy, I've got to put the space there between these. Okay, there you go. Myrt screen, yeah, I know it's blank. I'm not sharing I'm just sharing the link to you. I can't possibly get them all up there that quickly. And it has to do with, you remember our friend Daniel Loftus and his mother and baby home story. Paula Stewart Warren, who's an expert up there, Valerie, as you know her quite well in Minneapolis. She's doing a 2-part series on a similar thing for unwed mothers. Thank you for that link about Substack. Linda Stuffelbein did a good presentation in her blog post about researching. Let me just share just the link. She's the previous president and previous vice president of genea-bloggers. On using the Wayback Machine. If you go to a website and you get the 404 error, that it's not found, go to the Wayback Machine. And she describes step by step what she normally does. Also, this was a cute one. Marion Wood did a blog post, and it's called, she got one generation back. I can't think of the title. Genealogy research, one generation back for $27. And it has to do with the process here in the United States of ordering the original SS5 application for a Social Security number for your parents, your grandparents. And remember that it took some kind of convincing with an original document. about the birth information. So think about that. Anything else on the list? I'm trying so hard to get through this. Okay, the National Archives has a very interesting thing that they do in the History Hub. Let me pull that up. There we go. I actually do want to pull that up. Because if you just watch this page, oh, that's the wrong page. History Hub has a summary of what people have been asking lately. Have you got the link for History Hub? I must have pulled up the wrong one. Thank you, Randy. Yeah. And then here's an interesting thing of what you can find in the National Archives, an unusual thing that Brian Reinhardt found. He does Civil War records research, original document research at the National Archives. It doesn't happen to be the person I hired to pull files for me, but he actually found a diary that was written by the soldier that the mother of the deceased service person submitted with her application. You may not know that it wasn't just wives and children of a deceased soldier who could get like a widow's pension. The fact that he mentioned in his diary that he sent money home to his mother, and he did it several times, and it's mentioned in that diary. He said it in his diary, in case I didn't tell you, 14 times. That was basis for her receiving a pension based on his service during the U.S. Civil War. Oh, and thank you very much. There's the link for History Hub. Let me pull that up. I can't get there from here. Can you put it in the private chat? Because I really want to show you the variety of questions they handle on a daily basis. And I will share my screen. Can you give me the History Hub link in the private chat, please? I see it, but yeah, thank you. Here we go. So History Hub is basically their support and researcher help is available, and this is what people have been asking about lately. 5 hours ago, 11 hours ago, 2 days ago, etc. And naturalization, controversial visit, volunteer Illinois regimental records, roll numbers listed in this by the Historical Society and we're talking Dawes rolls, that's Native American research. We're used to seeing something like this over at Elizabeth Shones Mills evidenceexplained.com. And she's one person, the editor. I don't know how she does it, frankly. History Hub has a variety of responses from experts at the National Archives who know the record sets in particular. So, anywho, that's what's that. And I guess thank you is what I must say to everyone. Thank you for showing up, for giving us your comments. Gwenny is saying that Brian was the 2010 ProGen group with you. So you know that he's a good researcher because you've seen his work. When you're in a major study group like that, you get to know people. You really do. Thank you, panelists, for being here, for your comments, for sharing what kind of research you've been doing lately. And thank you to Tony Proctor, our special guest today, for showing us all kinds of things that we might do to share our genealogy with basically the non-genealogists in our family or with our clients. And thanks for the shout out, Valerie. We appreciate you. And there's really nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your not so retired friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.